Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast presented by the Six Pack Coverage Media Network. It's your host, Jeff Farrell, here with my co-hosts, Andrew Tanzi and Dave Varello. Coming at you to break down everything you need to know for Week 14 in the NFL. We will go game by game, give out all of our thoughts and bets for each game on the board. Then we will close it off with long shots, favorite bets, and some look ahead lines for next week. Rue, Dave, how we doing?
Doing great. Always happy to be back on my favorite sports betting podcast.
Rue, how was your week last week?
It was all right. I felt good about a lot of my reads on the games, but the props have just been kicking my butt lately. So you got to get back on track with them.
Yeah. Well, we made a little bit of money on the prop sheet. We didn't lose money, I guess is a better way to put it after how this year's gone.
Yeah, right.
Recapping from last week, I take a commanding lead in our debate of the week. The Buffalo Bills, never in doubt on Thursday Night Football. I know Dave was right there with me. We had the Bills -4. Rue had the Patriots +4. So you dropped to 2-5 on the year in your debates. How'd you feel about Mac Jones and the Patriots offense?
Yeah, I was a little mad at myself because I felt like I had nailed the Patriots dead on.
And then you just reversed your whole line of thinking.
Yeah, it was more of just like the Bills hadn't looked good, Josh Allen hadn't looked good, and yeah, just a pretty bad read by me on that one.
I mean, he still didn't even look that good, honestly.
No,
they were just running the ball and just stopping the Patriots on offense. Like they didn't have to do that much.
Yeah, I think at some point we need to throw out this whole Bill Belichick thing because at some point you just got to say you need talent to win in the NFL, and the Patriots roster is just void of talent pretty much.
Unless they're playing Zach Wilson, in which case you don't need any talent.
Yeah, you just need a good punt returner.
Favorite bets of the week. This was unfortunate. We both did a 6-point teaser. There was about 8 different options on the board that we could have chose from, and somehow we both had the Baltimore frickin' Ravens at -2, and they win the game by 1 point. Abysmal effort from the Ravens. I hate that entire organization. You had them paired with the Giants. I had them with the Lions, both of which covered easily. That was a really unfortunate way to both lose our favorite bets of the week.
Obviously, Lamar went down. Not that the offense looked good when he was in there, but as soon as Denver went up 9-3, it felt like just an insurmountable bet to win because it's like you knew the Ravens were going to score. Or if they scored, they weren't going to score again. So it was going to be either a loss or a 1-point victory. It was just pretty freaking brutal because I feel like teasers the last couple of weeks have actually been pretty decent.
And that was the thing, like every other teaser leg on the board,
yeah, exactly.
I felt like, except for that one. Like that was the only one. That was my favorite one, of course.
Yeah, it's a great week of teasers other than that one leg.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Long shots of the week. You nailed this one. I was in on this with you. Love this call. AJ Brown, 100 receiving yards and a touchdown. He dominated from the beginning of the game. I think it was a little bit in doubt in the third quarter just because they had the lead by so much, but he ended up with 120 yards, easily cleared this. Nice long shot win by you.
Yeah, pretty awesome. I think I was plus 425 when I put it in.
Okay.
So pretty good. And he had the 40-yard touchdown that was called back, and then he said, "No, I think I'll take that," and then caught the next one for a 40-yard touchdown. So yeah, pretty awesome.
That was a crazy sequence. Yeah. I took a loss on mine at the Bills team total over Bills money line. Unfortunately, paired that with Josh Allen rush yards, who didn't decide to run last week. So that was a tough loss by me. So I dropped to 3-7. Prop sheet last week, like I said, did turn a small profit, 5-4 on the week. We won some money at this point in the season. I'm not complaining about a winning week because they've been hard to come by.
Yeah, I'm still complaining.
We can do better, but it's a step in the right direction. We didn't go 3-9 again.
We have higher standards than that.
Yes, we do. We'll get them back this week. All right, heroes and zeros of the week before we jump to week number 14. Dave, do you have a hero from week number 13?
My hero of last week, I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. I had a big position on the Packers last week over that Bears team who we thought Justin Fields might be out, but I stuck to my guns on the Packers on that one. Aaron Rodgers didn't play that well, but and his season's basically over as far as I can see it.
Bring in Jordan Love.
His only shred of self-respect left in his body is beating the Chicago Bears, and that was the only thing we were banking on. So credit to him. Christian Watson is just on an absolute dominating stretch right now. 8 touchdowns in the last 4 games. He really saved specifically the cover on this one. I think the game was over after some
and the team total. That was big.
Yeah,
the team total.
Another one, but late picks by Justin Fields. So the defense came up big, and then Christian Watson takes that end around to the house to save the cover for us. So Green Bay Packers, my hero of the week.
That's so crazy because Watson barely even gets the ball. He gets like 4 targets a week and somehow turns that into like 3 touchdowns every single week. It's insane. He had 3 catches and 1 carry and somehow still had like 100 yards and a touchdown. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Brew, what do you got?
Yeah, I got to go with Geno Smith, another team I had a huge position on. The Seahawks, we had great closing line value. We had them at 3.5. I had
Thank God we did.
A large position on the money line as well. They go down by 3 pretty late. Geno Smith rallies the troops, leads a game-winning drive where he goes right at Jalen Ramsey for the game-winning touchdown. You love to see it. So Geno Smith, my hero of the week.
Yeah, I went with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Was all over the Lions last week. Had them in teasers, had them on the money line, bet the over. We were on Amon-Ra on the prop sheet. No surprise because we take him pretty much every single week, and he just continues to be unstoppable. 12 targets, 11 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jameson Williams coming back into the lineup did not impact that at all, even though the Bucs dropped his yards down by like 5 or 6 after that was announced. So another big week for our guy, the Sun God, as usual.
Yep.
0 of the week. Dave, what do you got?
I'd be surprised if we didn't all have this, but it has to be Tua for me. I mean, I've been exhausted all season listening to the Tua MVP talk, leads the league in QBR and all these random statistics. Everyone with eyes knows how inaccurate he's been all season, and it finally caught up to him against Brock Purdy. Was the only thing standing in the way of covering this game as an underdog. Finally caught up to him through 2 picks, was just all over the place accuracy-wise the entire game. And then in the end of the fourth quarter, he pops up with this mysterious foot injury, knee injury, whatever it was, of course, after he plays his worst game of the season. You hate to see something like that. So Tua is my just huge 0 of the week.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. I bet a lot of money on the Dolphins after Jimmy G went down, and it was just pain the whole game.
Yeah, I was able to get a 3.5 live after he went down, so I was feeling great. And my God, Tua just had no desire to win that game. But my 0 is someone else. I am going to go with Big Red, Andy Reid. I think kicking a field goal. Kicking a field goal on 4th and 3, a 55-yard field goal on 4th and 3, down 3 points in the fourth quarter, was just an atrocious coaching decision. Because one, even if it goes in, your defense has to stop the Bengals from getting a field goal to win the game with almost 2 minutes on the clock. And it's 4th and 3 of Patrick Mahomes. You've been moving the ball fine. I don't know. That to me was just a awful coach decision. Obviously, the field goal misses, so it looks even worse, and the Bengals kill the clock, and there goes my Chiefs bets, which was really – it felt like the 4 o'clock window last week is when things fell apart for me, and this Chiefs one definitely had a lot to do with it.
I feel like I didn't lose a single bet in the 1 o'clock slate. Then the 4 o'clock slate was like it was a real tough one.
It was the Ravens teasers crushed me in the 1 o'clock, but I came out. I was like, oh man, I forgot about. I still made a good profit, and then I had all this money on the Seahawks, so I'm like, I'm in good shape. But then Chargers and then Chiefs, and it was just fell apart.
My 0 of the week, I went with the entire Baltimore Ravens organization. I need to stop betting on this team. We even said this last week. We're like, we should probably stop betting on them. And then we just took them in teasers and it still didn't work out. Even when Lamar was playing, the offense couldn't get anything going. They can't run the ball. Mark Andrews went from the best tight end on earth last year to like barely even on the field and doing anything relevant. So it just, God, barely beating the Denver Broncos. They could have lost that game so many different times. That's so bad.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we will turn the page to week number 14. Bye weeks. We have apparently 6 bye weeks in week 14, one of the saddest collections of teams I've ever seen. The footballs, Falcons, Bears, Packers, Colts, and Saints all on bye. So a bunch of good teams playing this week. We will kick it off on Thursday Night Football with the Las Vegas Raiders. 6.5-point road, home, whatever you want to call them, favorites over the LA Rams. The over-under is 43.5. Darren Waller still out for the Raiders, expected to be back next week versus the Patriots. And then for the Rams, not really sure on the quarterback situation. They signed Baker Mayfield. Doesn't sound like he's going to be ready, but John Wolford's questionable, so it could be him, could be Bryce Perkins. A lot of moving parts there. And then cornerback Troy Hill and Ben Skowronek both popped up on the injury report as well, in addition to all of the known commodities on the Rams injury report at this point in the season. Dave, any plays on this game, side or total for you?
I got nothing on this game. I think it's going to be Wolford starting, but there's just no talent on this Rams team. All the skill, all the best players on their team are sitting, they're out, they're on IR. It seems like this team has basically given up, and maybe they're going to give Baker a shot next week.
I thought they had a really good effort last week. I thought they actually played really hard.
They have no incentive to tank because they don't even have their first round pick next year. So it's
you get the second round pick as close as possible. I mean,
yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you're in range of Stafford might be shut down for the entire season. Sean McVay might retire and go do something else at this point. I feel like no one in that organization just cares right now. They won their Super Bowl. They mortgaged everything. They got rid of every first round pick for the next 6 years or whatever it is. And it paid off for them. I just don't see anything on this team. I can't lay any amount of points, but on the flip side, I just have a tough time with anything to do with the Raiders. I'm not laying the points with it. I did put the Raiders in a money line parlay, but that's about all I can do for you.
Okay. Rue, any strong takes here?
Yeah, I love the Raiders here.
Oh yeah, you do.
I mean, I just think anything under 7 is great value here. There's still flat 6s out there. I took it at 5.5. Look, this is what they do. The Raiders suck. They make you think they're an awful team. Then they rattle off 3 straight. They reel you back in. And look, there's a good chance they break our hearts this week. I'm not going to say it not, but
I think they rack off a couple more wins, then they break our hearts.
I just think I really just think this number's too short. Like I think this has to be a touchdown. Like the Raiders pass rush looked great last week. They were all over Herbert. They didn't get home. I think they only had 3 sacks, but they just had a huge impact on that game. Now you have either Wolford or Bryce Perkins behind this beat up offensive line, which has been a huge issue the entire season. And offensively, like the Raiders have figured it out, and turns out it wasn't that complicated. It was just give your best players the ball. Like that's all. Throw the ball to Devontae Adams, let Josh Jacobs run the ball, and they've been putting up points the last few games. So really, this one to me, it's just a play on the number. I just think it's a point or two too short. So I love the Raiders. It's scary. I think I've pledged off not betting them 3 different times on this podcast, but here I am Thursday night. I'm all over them.
I'm totally with you 100% in on the Raiders. I agree with everything you said. I thought that effort last week from the Rams had a lot to do with Bobby Wagner going against his former team. You can kind of see he was really pumping up the defense. I don't expect that same level of effort on a short week. And I think this is honestly like a Raiders home game. I know it's in LA, but like there's going to be so many more Raiders fans than Rams fans. So I think it's a little bit deceiving seeing them as a road team here. And I just think this Raiders offense, like you said, they've scored 27, 40, and 22 points in the last 3 weeks. The 22 was against a good Broncos defense. So if they're going to get into the high 20s, I think you're really asking a lot of Bryce Perkins or John Wolford and this Rams offense to be able to get 21 to 24 points to cover the spread here. So I like the Raiders. If Wolford plays, I don't mind the over either, just because I think this Raiders defense can be vulnerable. But if this is Perkins, I mean, I'm going to unload even more on the Raiders under 7.
Yeah.
I will say if we get Perkins and there's still a 6.5 available, I think
you have to take it.
That would be my point on it. I don't have trust in the Raiders team. They're going to blow one of these games where there's a chance to make the playoffs, or a game like this. They're going to blow one of these games and lose it out, right? I don't want to be there when it happens, but if it's Bryce Perkins, you're right. I have to.
I don't think this is the game. I just don't think this is the game that they lay an egg.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
But don't listen to me. I haven't had a feel for this team the entire season. So
I feel so good about this one. We got this. Prop looks for either of you in this one.
I got nothing.
Oh, come on, guys. Devontae Adams. This is an easy one. Over receiving yards. He's averaging 8 catches for 135 yards over his last 5 games, has at least 125 receiving yards in 4 of the last 5. Jalen Ramsey is not even close to the Jalen Ramsey that we know and love in past years. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett toasted this secondary last week. They each had 8 catches, 125 plus yards, and a touchdown. I think this is another massive game for Adams because the Raiders offense doesn't really have any choice. It's going to be Josh Jacobs and it's going to be Devontae Adams.
I don't know if I want to get bit by game script in this one.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Do you have a worry about a blowout risk in this one? What if you only get 2 quarters worth of action from needing Devontae Adams' production?
I mean, it could be a risk, but I still think the Raiders defense is suspect enough to where they're not going to be up like 30 points in the second half. I still think they're going to give up points to the Rams. And if they score 31 points, there's a decent chance it's probably a bomb to Devontae Adams at some point because he's hit like a 50-yard touchdown in at least 3 of the last 4 games from what I can remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of his damage comes when these games are close. Like he had the big late catch.
That's because every game has been close recently.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this one has potential to. I'm not saying they win by 30, but I think there's a good chance a lot of the fourth quarter they're not exactly trying to score.
I don't know. If Wolford plays, I think it'll be a close game. If Perkins is in, I get a little.
Why are you? What's with just John Wolford? How is he such an upgrade from Perkins? The guy threw for like 150 yards last week.
And he's so much better than Perkins. They were moving the ball last week. They were fine. And the Seahawks defense is pretty comparable to the Raiders. Like, what, they put up 23 points? Like, I think that's a pretty respectable effort.
I guess. It
wasn't a ton of yards, but like he was moving it. Akers. I
don't think it's a huge upgrade though. Like, I don't know.
I think he's a pretty decent upgrade over Bryce Perkins at this point.
All right. If anything, Perkins at least uses legs a little more. I know Wolford can run, but not as well as Perkins.
I don't know.
All right.
Anything left to say?
No.
All right, kick it off in the Sunday slate with an NFC North divisional battle. The Minnesota Vikings will take on the Detroit Lions in Detroit. Lions are 2.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 52.5. A rematch of Week 3, a game where the Vikings came back from a 24-14-point deficit, scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, and won the game. A big injury in this one is going to be the Vikings left tackle Christian Darrisaw. He's still questionable. The backup left tackle has allowed 12 pressures and 6 sacks on the season, replacing Darrisaw, so that could be a big injury to watch out for. No real notes on the Lions. Jamison Williams played his season debut last week. Didn't see a ton of snaps. Either of you guys have a play on this one, side or total?
Maybe Aiden Hutchinson can finally do something against the backup tackle. Freaking bum. But that'd
be nice.
I think last week is just another game where you look at the box score of the Vikings game and you're just like, how the hell did they win this game? They were outgained 486-287. Jets were punted one time in the entire game. It felt like the Jets had 20 different plays on like goal to go, and they just could not get in the end zone. They were 1 for 6 in the red zone. So I mean, like, look, I was on the Vikings last week. I can't tell you how many Vikings bets I've won this year where I come out with a win, but I was on the wrong side of the game. I just don't know how the Vikings keep winning these games. And you look at the records of these teams, and you're like, obviously, you think one team's better, but the part of me thinks the Lions are like a better team right now.
They are a better team. They're better.
Like, their defense is playing better. Their offense, this is another Lions home game, so they're going to be putting up points against a Vikings defense that was shredded by the Patriots and 2 weeks ago. And like I said, almost just allowed 500 yards to Mike White and the Jets. So I think, like, I wish I took the Lions at the open here. Like, I feel like the value's a little bit gone now that it's at 2.5. I did tease the Vikings because even if the Vikings lose this game, it's going to be a one possession coin flip type of game towards the end. So I do like the Lions as the better team here, but I just think the value's gone on the line at this point.
Dave?
Yeah, I ended up with I have a Vikings money line bet in.
Ooh.
There's something about this team. They're 10-2 on the season. So outside of week 1, they beat the Packers 23-7. All 9 of their other wins have come by 1 score, and then the 2 losses were the blowouts to both the Eagles and the Cowboys. So I think if the Vikings are staying in this game, which I think they're going to be capable of doing, it's going to be an offensive shootout, fireworks all over the place, a lot of opportunities for prop looks in this game, I think. But there's something about this Vikings team. How many weeks in a row are we going to keep saying, how do they keep winning these one-score games? How do they keep doing it? The box scores, whatever breaks need to be falling their way, it just keeps happening. So it's a team I'm going to look to fade when they get into the playoffs. But right now, I can't find a reason to bet against them, no matter how good the Lions have looked, especially over the past 3 weeks. No doubt about it, the Lions have looked like the better team, but there's something about this Vikings team. I think they're extremely live to win this game, and I don't think there's the possibility they're going to get blown out here. It's going to be a close one. I see no reason why they can't bring it home again. So I'm going to keep riding here with the Vikings and take them on the money line.
All right. I respect your analysis, but I believe we will be going mano y mano in this game. I'm going to end up betting the Detroit Lions. I'm going to see where the number goes, see if it crashes a little bit, but I think
so. You didn't take
Lions money. I didn't take them yet, just because I'm going to say I feel like there's going to be Vikings money coming in at some point. Like, if it ever got to 3, they would definitely get bet, but maybe if we can get a 1.5 or something.
Yeah, I'd be in with you at 1.5. Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Yeah, I just think like you said, like, the Lions are just the better team. Like, I was just looking at the DVOA metrics over the last 6 weeks, like since the Lions got healthy. The Lions are 7th overall in team DVOA. The Vikings ranked 21st, and it's a similar story in a lot of the other metrics. They've been trending down a little bit. I get that they keep winning these games, but I feel like at some point they're just going to get beat in the box score and beat on the scoreboard. And the Lions have been rolling right now. This isn't the same Lions team that competes in every game and loses at the buzzer. I think they've won 4 out of 5 games. Could it be Buffalo? Like, I'm in on the Detroit Lions. 100%.
I think you have to bet on regression at some point, like these one-score wins.
That's what I'm saying. At some point, they just can't win all of them.
So it's like a coin flip game. I expect it to be that way. That's why I tease the Vikings.
Yeah, the teaser's fine. I agree.
But at some point, I want to bet on regression and just take the other team in these coin flip games because it's going to go against the Vikings at some point.
I agree with that, but again, how many weeks in a row have we been asking for the regression spot for the Vikings, and it hasn't come yet? I don't know why it's going to start now. I'm going to stick with it as till the wheels fall off, basically.
Listen to the Vikings whisper. They lose this game.
It is interesting about this game, deferring to you, the Vikings whisperer, and Jeff, who has been the Lions whisperer over the past month. So maybe I'll defer to the two.
I'm shocked you're not on the Vikings, Drew. I really thought you were going to come in here and say you're betting the Vikings. I'm shocked.
I know when to fade my team.
I know you do. I didn't think this was going to be the week for you. I thought you normally don't like the Lions very much.
No, they've turned a corner. I was on them last week. They won me a lot of money.
Okay, restore the roar. Keep it going. Prop looks for you guys in this one. Anything jumping out on that? We don't have lines for this one or any of the other Sunday games. We'll give you some thoughts on what we're looking for.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh yeah.
I mean, give me what I don't know what number. I plays receptions every week. I think you do is yards and receptions.
I do both. I mean, everything hits.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Take either one. This dude is just a staple prop every single week because you're not going to get a 9.5 receptions or anything. I mean, maybe at some point you will. I think Cooper Kupp ended up getting the line there at one point, but as long as this is in the 7.5 range, I'm taking his over on receptions every week.
He did the exact same thing last year, right around this time when we got into the week 13 on. He was putting
unstoppable.
Up 8 for 112 and a touchdown every single game. So you got to keep riding that.
Yeah.
Dave, any prop looks for you?
Yeah. In addition to that, I have to look at TJ Hawkinson in the revenge spot. Jeff, I'm sure you'll be on that one. You're a big revenge guy, but if we're going to get the over 4.5 reception line, going to keep taking that one. It's hitting 4 out of 5. Last week, he only landed with 4, but his lowest targets of the week is 6. So I'm going to keep riding that one in the TJ Hawkinson revenge game. I'm also going to look at DeAndre Swift over total yards. We'll see what number that looks like. He played 51% of the snaps last week, which is his highest percentage since returning from injury in week 8. He out-carried Jamal Williams last week. He finished with 14 for 62 versus Williams 11 for 35. And he's also been getting a lot of looks in the receiving game. He had 6 targets, 4 receptions, 49 yards, and a touchdown. So I'm going to look at Swift's over total yards.
Do you know what his rushing prop was lined at last week?
It was 20, right?
It's been in the 20s for
20 and a half. I thought that was insane. I mean, it was
he hasn't been getting many carries.
I actually hit the under on that a couple weeks in a row. I mean, he was getting 5 carries, and Dan Campbell was coming out and saying that's too many carries. So it
just
finally
seemed like he had to trend up in usage.
Yeah,
so
I agree. I think that's the time, and maybe if we still get a low enough number, that's a buy point.
Yeah. I agree with all those plays. And just a quick note on Justin Jefferson. For whatever reason, the first time they played the Lions, he was absolutely shut down. Jeff Okudah held him to 3 catches for 14 yards on 6 targets. The only game he's been shut down this entire season. So I'm assuming that was probably a fluke, but interesting matchup to watch for if you're looking at Jefferson props.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along to the New York Jets against the Buffalo Bills. Bills are 9.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 43.5. Michael Carter likely going to be out again for the Jets in the backfield. And then the Bills offensive lineman Deion Dawkins questionable, and Von Miller apparently out for the season. That was announced today. Rue, are you taking the Bills here? Are you going to join me and Mike White on the Jets?
No, I'm going to wait to see if the Bills get in teaser range. Look, I still don't trust Mike White, whether they should have won that game last week or not. One, we know the Vikings defense stinks, and the guy threw 2 interceptions. Part of the reason they couldn't punch the ball into the end zone on 15 tries was because of him. And against the Bills, you're going to need to convert those opportunities. And now he faces a Bills defense, which is just worlds better than what he's seen the last 2 weeks in the Vikings and the Bears. And I think I undervalued the Bills defense last week. I was, harping on the Von Miller loss, obviously, but they got some guys back and it made a huge difference against the Patriots, who obviously don't have a great offense, but the Jets were able to keep the Bills in check in the first matchup. But in a QB battle like this lopsided, I don't want to back the Jets. I understand backing the Jets, but Like, I'm not on the Bills. I'm not laying the points with the Bills, but I think if this got in teaser range, I'll just tease Bills. I think they win this game.
Do you agree the spread is a little bit inflated? If you were making a number, what would you make it?
I think it's inflated because of like the inconsistencies we've seen. Like we talked about, like how the Vikings were 3-point favorites against the Jets, and now the Bills are 9.5-point favorites, and then you have the Patriots. Like, it just the line doesn't make sense. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit inflated. I'd probably make it like 7.5, but like to me,
agree.
Like, 7's the key number. So I'm not to me, I don't feel like I'm gaining a ton of value by
8 lands. You can get 8. That matters.
But
10.
I don't know.
If it gets it hit 10 earlier in the week. 10
did it hit 10?
I have 10. Yes, I'm holding 10 right now.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'll look for it to get the 8.5 and tease it.
Dave,
I just don't want to trust Mike White. I just don't trust them.
Trust the defense that held Josh Allen to 17 points and 2 interceptions the last time they played them. The Bills don't have to put up 30 here. Mike White just throws to the guy that's open and they move the ball down the field. Yeah, they're not great in the red zone, but I think they can compete here.
But this is the Bills defense compared to the Bears, who's like worse than the worst defense in the league, because they are the worst defense in the league and they were missing
they
guys.
put up like 35 on the Bears. Maybe they put up 17 against the Bills. I think that's enough to cover the spread.
I don't know. I still think the Jets defense is a little overrated. Like the Bills game is the one game where, like, okay, it happens in the NFL. Like, Josh Allen had an off game. Like, they've been scoring a ton of points with Josh Allen not looking great. So if there's a game where he comes out and looks great, this team's scoring 30 plus points, and I don't think the Jets cover.
I mean, they haven't been scoring that many points though.
They've been scoring like mid to upper 20s with Josh Allen not looking right.
24 versus the Patriots, 28 against the Lions. All right. Dave, what do you have here?
At the current number, I got nothing. I'm with Rue on this one. If Bills get into the teaser range, I'm all over that one. I would need 10.5 to play Mike White. I'm just not jumping at the opportunity to play Mike White. He's just one of those quarterbacks that he'll have 1 or 2 good performances. He'll win a game and then he'll fade into irrelevance probably for the rest of his career. That he just seems like one of those guys to me. I'm not laying it with the Bills. I think they're kind of rounding into playoff form a little bit. I know they lost Von Miller, but defense has looked better. Josh Allen had some mid-season woes, as he always seems to do. He was banged up for a little bit. I think they're starting to round back into form. So at the current number, I got nothing, but I'm not laying it with the Jets. I need 10.5.
All right. I will be alone on the New York Jets here. I got 10. I still think 9.5 is fine. Like Rue said, I'm kind of with him here. I just think it's more of a numbers play. I think the correct number is probably like 7.5. It just seems a little bit inflated. And for whatever reason, I trust Mike White in this offense to do enough to keep the game close. And I kind of think they could have a chance to win. I don't know. I'm not really trusting this Bills team to just take care of business, like, without any issues and against these inferior opponents this year. So I don't know. I think Josh Allen's prone to some more mistakes than we might think.
Yeah, and Mike White is too. Like, Mike White threw 2 interceptions last week. Who knows what he's going to cook up this week against a better defense?
Maybe. We'll see. Anyone have any prop looks in this game?
No, I got nothing in this game.
If Michael Carter's out, I have to look at Zonovan Knight. Over 100 scrimmage yards last week. He led the backfield with 15 carries versus Ty Johnson's 1 and James Robinson's 4. So he's clearly the running back starter if there's no Michael Carter. We'll see on that one. I think Carter's trending in the direction of playing. And then on the other running back side, James Cook got a lot of work last week. He out carried Singletary 14 for 64. And then he had another 6 targets, 6 receptions, 41 receiving yards. The only thing that's holding me back a little bit is he did something similar. Week 11, he went 11 for 86 on the ground and then followed that up with a 2 rush for 4-yard performance. So I have to see what he's lined at. I don't know if there's full trust in him yet, but this tends to be what happens with these rookie running backs as we get later in the season. They start to sort of take over the backfield. So I'm curious to see what his line will be at.
Yeah, I agree with everything there. I'm also going to look at Garrett Wilson, see where he's lined. If he's in the low 60s again, I'll probably like that. He was 8 for 92 against the Bills last time with Zach Wilson, and we know he has a good rapport with Mike White. All right, Moving on. Let's go to the Baltimore Ravens against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ravens are laying 2.5 points at home. The over-under is down to 36.5, dropping like a rock here. Big injury news is Lamar Jackson, doubtful for the game. Sounds like it's going to be a week of Huntley again, and then Ronnie Stanley and Patrick Queen, both questionable for the Ravens as well. For the Steelers, TJ Watt was banged up last week. Didn't see him on the injury report this week, so sounds like he should be good to go. And then cornerbacks Ahkello Witherspoon and William Jackson, both out for this one. Anyone want to bet the Ravens again? Bet the Steelers is a small favorite.
I was hoping the Ravens would get to 3.5, but probably my.
Okay,
it was at 3.
Yeah,
and then it moved down to 2.5. But now, probably my favorite teaser leg of the week.
Have I heard that before? That's never failed us, right? On the Ravens as a teaser.
At least this time we're getting points. We're not laying points. And teams aside, you're getting 8.5 points in a teaser in a game with a total of 36.5. That alone is tremendous value. Second, you have the familiarity of these teams and the coaches. Like, obviously, they've been going head to head for however long. These games just always seem to end in one possession. Going back to 2018, 6 of the last 8 games between these teams were decided by one score, including a game with Huntley at quarterback last year, which ended up being a 3-point overtime loss. And every game Huntley started last year was 3 points or less margin at the end of the game. Now, they lost 4 out of 5 of them, but still, they were right there. I think 2 of them were because they failed a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. But these teams just have a way of staying close. So I think Ravens and teasers, probably one of the more safer teaser legs on the board.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I did take the Ravens at +3 when it was there. I don't think I need the 3.5. I definitely think the teaser leg is a great one. I think the money line is extremely live, and we might get an old school AFC North 17-15 sort of grinded out game. I don't think the substitution of Lamar down to Huntley is that big of a downgrade based on the way Lamar's been playing. I think.
Jeez, what an insult.
I mean, have you seen the guy play the last 10 weeks? He's just not himself for whatever
reason. Have you seen the players around him? They set him up with Devin Duvernay and James Prochet to throw the ball to. I mean, you know what they should do? Trade for Hollywood Brown. Then the offense might look good again.
Yeah, Mark Andrews is dropping easy touchdown passes, and then they're throwing it to Josh Oliver. I don't know what they're doing, but I think it's just going to be a defensive, grinded out game. Yeah. I'll take Huntley, maybe give him a little spark in this offense. So I think the Ravens are very live to win this game, so I'm all on their side.
Sparked them last week to 10 whole points. That was very sparky.
Yeah, now he gets the week of prep. Yeah, it's different throwing a guy in there after what? I don't know how many snaps Lamar played and then throwing a guy in there like that. It's a totally different ball game.
I bet the Steelers money line as soon as the Lamar news was announced. I think I got like -124. I don't mind it now. I think you can still find like a -140. I just think the Steelers have been playing a lot better. They won 3 out of 4 games coming off the bye. The offense needs to be better in the red zone, but they've been moving the ball. Pickett's looked okay. This is definitely going to be a defensive battle, but I just really don't like this Ravens offense right now. They can't run the ball at all. Their running backs are averaging 3.5 yards per carry over the last 5 games. No running back has topped 50 yards over that stretch. They just played the Broncos, Jags, and Panthers. The Steelers' run defense is ranked better than all 3 of those, so they're probably not going to be able to run the ball again here. And like I said, they just don't have any weapons in the passing game. Like Mark Andrews is the only somewhat reliable receiver. I don't even know if he's reliable this year. Like they have nothing on the outside. I know it's going to be a low-scoring game, and the Ravens' defense is good, but I really struggle to see how they put up enough points to even beat a Steelers offense. It's mediocre. Like I think the Steelers are just better.
It's like funny to think about like this Ravens offense. If you go down their skill position guys, like you said, Devin Duvernay,
Deshaun Jackson's playing meaningful snaps.
Demarcus Robinson, the corpse of Gus Edwards,
and they did it to themselves. Like they did this to themselves. Why?
I don't know what and it's weird because it felt like last year the Ravens somewhat shifted to more of a pass first type of offense where
it was working.
And it was working. Lamar was playing great when he was healthy. They were competitive with Huntley, and for some reason they went into the offseason and wanted to trade their number 1 target and really not replace him with anyone. So very strange.
Yeah, it just makes no sense. I just think the Steelers are the better team, so I'm taking them under 3 here.
Okay.
Anyone have any prop looks here?
I don't know how you could.
Yeah,
I have one, but I'll mention it later.
Okay. Intriguing. See what that is. All right, to move on to the next game here, NFC East divisional battle. Our Philadelphia Eagles will take on the New York Football Giants. Giants are 6.5 to 7 point home dogs, depending on where you're looking. The over/under is 45.5. No major injuries here. Quez Watkins questionable for the Eagles. Kenny Galladay for the Giants, and then Robert Quinn also going to be missing from the Eagles defensive line, but ton of depth there, especially with Jordan Davis coming back, so probably won't miss him too much. I bet the Eagles here, kind of like them under 7. I just think this Eagles offense is reaching not necessarily inevitable territory, but like they're pretty hard to stop at this point. I think they're going to put up high 20s to low 30s just about every week. 28 plus points scored in 4 of the last 6 games. And I just really don't see the Giants having enough firepower on offense. The Eagles run defense looked a lot better last week, totally shut down Derrick Henry with Jordan Davis back in the lineup next to Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. So what?
No, Davis only played like 6 snaps last week, but
I'm just saying he's back. Like it helps out the defense overall, and the run defense look good. Yeah, he didn't play a ton of snaps, but if they can't run the ball with Saquon on the ground, I just really struggle to see how they're going to get into the 20s and cover this spread. So Eagles under 7, I'm in. If you can't find that, I'd probably just take an Eagles team total over 26.5. I think that's still a decent look here under the number of 27. Agreements, disagreements.
I teased the Eagles when they were at 7. I feel like this might close over 7. I feel like there could.
I could see that.
So yeah, I tease them, and I kind of have the same things written down as you. It just seems like this Eagles offense, when they're on the field, they can't be stopped. I mean, they lit up the Titans.
And they stopped themselves with turnovers. And
how many penalties did they have? How many? They had all these penalties, and they still the Titans still couldn't stop them. And then, just like you said, I simply put, I just don't think the Giants have enough firepower to keep up. Like, they haven't been able to get Saquon going on the ground. Their whole offense is basically you're relying on Daniel Jones just running the ball, and there's just not much else on this offense that scares you. And you have a banged up Giants defense going against the hottest offense in football. So I lean the Eagles here from a spread perspective, but I like them in teasers or money line plays. I think, divisional matchup, obviously, but it's just the Eagles are far better than the Giants. And I feel like the Giants are they were similar to the Vikings early in the season, where they were getting pretty lucky. Everything was going their way. So, the Giants might be the Vikings of the future once the luck wears off.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
The Vikings of the future. Dave, what do you have? You with us here on the Eagles, or are you going the other way?
Yeah, you guys touched on everything I wanted to. I laid 6.5 with the Eagles. I'm fine with anything under 7. I don't think the Giants can keep up offensively. We touched on the defensive line. Back to their early season form, the Eagles could just beat you in so many different ways. We've seen Jalen Hurts do it with his legs. We've seen Miles Sanders games. We've seen A.J. Brown games. There's no predicting how they're going to beat you, but they're going to beat you. That's all that I know. So I laid the 6.5. I think money line's obviously safe in any parlays.
Yeah. All right. I think we covered it pretty handily there. No prop looks for me. I think you just kind of summed it up there in that last statement with the Eagles can beat you in so many different ways. It's hard to figure out which way. So no props for me.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to an interesting game here. The Cleveland Browns taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are laying 6 to 6.5 points, depending on where you're looking. The over-under is 47.5. Obviously, Deshaun Watson made his long-awaited return to the lineup last week. Didn't go great, but they won the game. David Njoku and David Bell both questionable in this Browns pass-catching offense, and then Joe Mixon and Hayden Hurst questionable for the Bengals. So no major injuries. Both teams are coming in pretty healthy here. This is obviously a rematch of a game earlier in the season where the Browns D-line just gave Joe Burrow fits. They won that game. I believe that was a Halloween night game, and the Browns won outright. I definitely bet the Bengals in that game, so I still remember that. This one's tough for me. I feel like a lot of it depends on what you think about Deshaun Watson. Like, obviously, he didn't look great last week. It was against the Houston Texans. That could be problematic, but it also feels like it could be a good time to sell Cincinnati. They're coming off a big win over Pittsburgh. Then they beat the Titans. They get Jamar Chase back last week and beat the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Like, this is probably the highest rating in the market that the Bengals have seen all season. Could this be the time to sell them, or are we just not comfortable enough with Watson and what we've seen to go there? Do you guys have a strong feeling either way?
I think you really would have liked to see something out of Watson last week, any sort of
anything, and I'd be confident.
Yeah, right. So it's really tough coming after that game and looking into this after watching what the Bengals just did. But I think you said it. The Bengals are coming off that huge emotional win into what's turning, I guess, into their rival, even though the Chiefs haven't beat them yet. Mahomes has yet to take down Joe Burrow in their 3 matchups.
Yeah.
But I think it's turning into a nice little rivalry that we'll see for years to come. Watson gets another week under his belt. I don't know, shake off a little bit of that rust. Somehow Joe Burrow has never beaten the Browns in this current form. He's 0-5 against them. I just think it's too many points. I laid 6 points with the Browns.
You got 6 points.
I got 6 points with the Browns. I think the money line might be live. And it scares me to say that. Last week was such a chalky week. We saw straight up favorites went 13-1-1, and they were about 10-5 against the spread. So I'm expecting a little bit of chaos this week. I think the Browns are live to win this game. So I sprinkled the money line as well, and then I took the +6.
I think you might be better off waiting. I mean, if you already bet it, that's fine. I think this one could hit 7. Like, we've been seeing it trend up. It's open like 4.5. It's now up to 6. There's a 6.5 on the board. Like, if this hits 7, I feel like I have to bet the Browns. Bro, what do you have?
Yeah, I like the Bengals here. I couldn't disagree more with you guys. I'm waiting to see if this actually goes back to 5.5. But
wouldn't count.
I did take the Bengals money line in a parlay. But to me, I look at this Browns team
minus 250 on the Bengals money line
in a parlay.
Why? I agree with Dave. I think the Browns could win this game.
I don't. I look at the Browns and this team with Jacoby Brissett had a top 10 DVOA offense, which included a top 10 passing offense. So it was really the defense has been the issue for most of the season. So now, like with Watson having not played for 2 years, with how bad he looked last week, and he looked terrible. Like I think his stats were awful, but they still don't do justice to how bad this guy looked. And I think it's just a major downgrade for the offense at quarterback right now. And you're saying, he has another week under his belt, shake off the rust. Like, it's not just a one game and then, Deshaun Watson's back to normal for what we saw.
It could be.
Yeah, we don't know. I would never lay the Bengals money line. I think there's too much uncertainty.
It could take a month. It could take a week. I mean, we don't know. That's part of the point on why there's so much volatility in this game.
I don't think there is.
Right.
I feel confident saying Deshaun Watson's a downgrade from Brissett.
How do you know he's going to be?
He's in a new system that he's never played in before with new wide receivers that he hasn't
learn it. I mean,
what do you mean? He wasn't with the team.
He still gets the playbook and stuff. It's not like he never seen the plays or doesn't
he wasn't
know what
looking
doing.
at the plays. He was probably getting massages the whole time while he wasn't on the
While he was reading the playbook, he was getting massages.
Well, I don't know about that, but and look, since the Browns beat the Bengals, like for what it's worth, it was their first game without Jamar Chase, who's obviously back now. They've won 4 straight games, averaging 31 points per game. The offensive line has looked much better. So I just I love I just think the Bengals are a much better team right now. And like I said, it's not the offense for the Browns that's the problem. It's not like Deshaun Watson's coming into this piss poor offense with Brissett and is going to resurrect them. It's been the defense. I think the defense is still going to be an issue here against a hot Bengals offense. So, and the Bengals defense has been playing well too. Like I thought they did pretty decent against the Chiefs last week, and they've been pretty solid all year. So, I know what I'm getting with the Bengals here, and I just think they're a much better team right now. And I don't think there's as much volatility with Watson as you make it out to be. I just don't think he's there yet. And it's not going to be a 1 week thing where he's just, okay, I sucked against the Texans. Now I'm going to be back to normal against a much better defense. So I couldn't disagree more in that regard.
I mean, it was like week 1 of the season. If a quarterback comes out in week 1
not
and is
week
a bad
1. The guy hasn't played
for
in 2
him. It
years.
was week 1 of it's like
no,
week 1 of his season.
That was at week 1. He threw 5 passes in preseason, 5 awful passes or whatever it was. The guy hasn't played in 700 days.
That's the definition of a volatile player, though.
No,
he hasn't played in 500 days.
He led the league in passing like 2 years ago.
Yeah. That's not volatility. That's a guy who hasn't played, so he looks like crap. And it's going to take time.
But you know what he's capable of doing. You know he's a capable elite quarterback at one point in his career. You have no idea how long it's going to take for that switch to snap back on, or it never will. That's the definition to be the volatile.
If I don't play golf for 2 years and I go to a brand new course I've never played, I'm not going to go out and shoot like under par or something the first time.
Maybe your second
time.
Or the second time. Or the second time.
Set yourself up for that one. All right. Anyone have any prop looks in this game? I don't think I'm gonna have anything. Maybe Nick Chubb rush yards. Always see where that's at. Bengals receivers. Anyone?
Probably not right now.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, it looks like Mixon's going to play. I was going to say P. Ryan, but
he's been awesome.
Yeah, so but I think Mixon's trending towards playing, so
ruins that. All right, let's go down to the AFC South here. Jacksonville Jaguars against the Tennessee Titans. Titans are laying 3.5 points at home. The over-under is 41.5. Jaguars have not won a game in Tennessee in 8 years, being outscored by an average of 13 points per game over that span. Big injury news in this one. Trevor Lawrence popped up on the injury report with what looked like an incredibly painful and serious ankle injury last week. Came back in the game, finished it against Detroit. Backup quarterback would be CJ Beathard. Lawrence said he's probably going to play, but we have to see how he progresses through the week. And then for the Titans, Treylon Burks, Christian Fulton, Elijah Molden, and David Long, all in the injury report. Titans defense has been pretty banged up all year. Anyone have a play on this one? I grabbed the Titans earlier today, just kind of based on the Trevor Lawrence news, thinking worst case, I'll get, an even spread here at 3.5. Best case, it's Beathard and it goes to 7, but I don't really feel strongly about it. What about this if Lawrence is going to play?
Yeah, I think this would be a lean to the Jags if we get confirmation Lawrence is in. It's just it's like I kind of said this last week. It's just hard to back this Titans team, let alone to win by a margin when they just can't get Henry going. And they've had some great matchups for him on the ground. And he's just been held in check. And, I've been preaching lately of how bad this Jags defense is, but really it's been more on the back end. Like they're 31st in DVOA against the pass and 13th against the rush, which is respectable enough to where I feel like they can shut down the Titans run game from what we've seen recently. And then, the Titans might be without their top target and Treylon Burks now. So, and like the Titans obviously have a great run defense. They have clear issues in the secondary, like we saw last week. So it's just like, can we trust Trevor Lawrence to exploit this matchup and take care of the ball? Like that's where like I'm a little hesitant is if I can trust Lawrence here, but I'm getting 4.5 points here for a Titans team that they just don't have the makeup of a team that can win by a large margin. So you got to think at the very least at the end of the game, the Jags will be in position to cut it to a 3 or 4 point game.
I think that's fair. Dave, do you have any strong takes here?
I don't have a play on the game right now. The Titans have been an interesting team this year. So their wins, they're beating all of these average to below average teams. The Raiders, the Colts twice, Commanders, Texans, Broncos, Packers, and then their losses, they're losing to those superior teams, Eagles, Bengals, Chiefs, Bills. So you kind of see what they are is they're not playing up to the competition this year like we've seen in years past, where we love to take Vrabel as a big underdog and he'll play up to those Chiefs teams. We're not really seeing that this year. They're just beating the below average teams in the league. So it's generally a spot I would take them. Just too much uncertainty for me here. No idea what Trevor Lawrence's health situation is going to be like, even if he plays. Tannehill was also getting ragdolled the entire last week against the Eagles. So I am a little bit concerned about how banged up potentially he could be. I think this is going to be a great coaching matchup. If I had to play anything on this, I would just take the Titans on the money line, but nothing for me right now.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you say about the Titans kind of taking care of business against these teams similar to the Jags. And they have been doing it by some margin. Like they beat the Packers by 10, they beat the Broncos by 7, beat the Texans by 7, the Colts by 9. So like it's not like they're winning all these games by a field goal. So they have shown some ability this season to at least take care of business in these games where they should win. And like you said, get kind of beat in those games where they really step up in class. So I don't feel great about the Titans, but I think it's a fine bet, so I'll ride it. Anyone have any prop looks in this one?
Yeah, if Lawrence plays, I'll be looking at Zay Jones. He seems to be a pretty consistent target over the last few weeks. 7 targets last week, 14 targets the week before, 10 targets the week before that. So he seems to be the go-to guy in the offense for Trevor Lawrence. And
what did Zay Jones do with his 7 targets last week?
Well, that's I just want the volume.
Yeah. Is that irrelevant? Do you actually need yards to go over this prop, or is it a target prop?
Well, I mean, if the targets are there, I'll take it. I'm not going to back off because of one down week.
Okay, he went 2 catches for 16 yards last week.
Yeah, and the week before, 11 receptions for.
I'm just saying. I feel like you should mention that if you're giving out the prop. You're like, oh, this guy got 7 targets.
Yeah, I'm betting based on volume. Isn't it? It's like,
I just felt like you should say what happened.
Okay, yeah, he didn't have a good week last week. He still saw 7 targets. So
that's true. He did. Dave, any props for you?
No.
I'm gonna look at a speculative long shot, maybe like a long shot touchdown score. Chig Okonkwo. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right. This is a rookie tight end out of Maryland for the Tennessee Titans, finally getting on the field a little bit more, especially last week after Treylon went down with the concussion. Okonkwo played a season-high 32 snaps, saw 5 targets, led the team with 4 catches for 68 yards after going 3 for 35 against the Bengals.
What did he do the week before that? I feel like you should mention it. One catch?
I actually only wrote down the last 2 games, but that's probably because the third one wasn't very good. He's also 6'3", 240 and ran a 4.5, 240. Boom.
Right.
Chig
How many bench press reps did he do?
Probably a lot. He sounds like a big guy. His name's Chig. I mean, he doesn't mess around. All right. Anyone have any other props here?
No.
All right, let's move on to the biggest spread on the board. The Houston Texans taking on the Dallas Cowboys for the Battle of Dallas, if that's a thing. Cowboys are laying 16.5 points. The over-under is 46. I guess it'll be the Battle of Texas, not Dallas. Okay, anyway. Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, Derek Stingley, all questionable on this Texans team. Apparently, Davis Mills back at quarterback. The Kyle Allen experience didn't go quite as they planned. I don't know what they exactly planned there, but apparently it wasn't to their liking, so it'll be Davis Mills again. And then cornerback Anthony Brown done for the year for this Cowboys in their secondary. Anyone have a play here? I'm assuming it'll be Cowboys or pass for all of us at anything under like. I swear to God, if you make a case for the Texans, I might leave. Go ahead, you start.
This isn't really a play. This isn't really a play on the Texans. It's just like these are hard numbers to cover. These big ones, like we saw the Texans go down huge to the who was it? The Dolphins a couple weeks ago, and they let their foot off the gas. And now with Davis Mills back in, he's better than you know my thoughts on Davis Mills. He's more competent than Kyle Allen, though. Like I don't know, man. Like it's 16.5 points in an NFL game.
What are we talking? It's the Houston Texans with both wide receivers.
You know how many times they've lost by more than this in the entire season? One time.
Yeah, they're getting worse every single week, and the Cowboys are turning into the best team in the league every single week. I mean, they're getting better, and the Texans are getting worse.
I'm just saying. I was trying to find something that could tell me the against the spread record of teams this many points, but I didn't have the tools to do so. I would imagine it's not great. Why? We can't just throw out the window that the Colts and the Cowboys were in a 2-point game in the fourth quarter last week. Like the final score is completely misleading. Like the Colts just went complete blow up mode. It was a 2-point game. They were right there. Cowboys scored 33 points in the fourth quarter because of like 87 Colts turnovers. And I'm not saying Texans can't turn the ball over, but I feel pretty confident saying if it's a 2-point game in the fourth quarter, Texans would cover the spread. But
all right, the Cowboys also handily beat the Giants the week before. They only won by 8 because of a last-second touchdown, but they were up by 15.
That's what I mean.
They beat the Vikings. That's a big win over a better team than the Texans. They beat the Vikings 40-3. It's not like this Cowboys offense is incapable of putting up a 40 spot. They beat the Bears 49-29. We've seen the win by margin multiple times in the last 5 weeks. This isn't unprecedented.
I haven't played the Texans. I'm just saying.
Don't play. I'm begging you, do not play the Texans.
You said it would be Cowboys or pass. I think it's Texans or pass.
23.5, and I don't even think I'm betting the Texans. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not even kidding. They're a disaster. What, they scored 3 points last week against the Browns?
What number are you looking for? Right? Would you take it at 16.5? I feel like you need at least.
Isn't that what it's at? 16.5?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying
it was getting over 17 before the Davis Mills. What is there a number that you're looking to play this at?
No, I'm not sitting here waiting for a number to play the Texans. To me, all I'm saying is it's Texans or pass. I'm not betting on the Texans.
That's too far. Even that's too far.
I would never play the Texans in this spot.
I'm not recommending to play.
The Cowboys are the hottest team in the league. The Texans are just a lock to get that number 1 pick. I am a little bit disappointed because I really, really wanted Kyle Allen in this game because I think the Cowboys were truly capable of winning that game by 50 points. Now that it's Davis Mills, there's the tiniest bit of uncertainty. I still laid 16.5 with the Cowboys.
See, I think that's atrocious. I think it's atrocious to lay 16.5 points. I just
how? You're talking about the Texans playing against defenses that are not even in the same realm as the Cowboys.
I'm just saying. I think it's
and you're talking about it was a 3-point game against the Colts, and then what happened. The Cowboys defense did what the Cowboys defense does.
No,
They
the
put in
Colts
any running
offense
back
did what the Colts offense did.
And what is the Texans offense going to do? Look
I'm
what they
just
just
saying.
did against the Browns. The Browns couldn't score an offensive point, and they still lost that game by 12? They lost that game by 12. I laid it with the Cowboys. I took their team total over 30.5 as well. These were both in contention for my favorite bets of the week. But I'm kicking myself, not kicking myself. I'm kicking the Texans.
I'd be kicking myself too
for putting Davis Mills back in this game, because if it was Kyle Allen, I would have absolutely loved these.
And the spread isn't unprecedented. The Dolphins were laying 14.5 2 weeks ago to this Texans team, and they were up 30-0 at halftime.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the Texans almost covered it.
Are we really going to expect the Texans to win 15-0 in the second half again? That game was a joke. The
Cowboys have not given up. They're not resting guys in the second half, and even if they are, the defense is good enough. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
They'll keep their guys in for 3
They're
quarters.
not letting their foot off the gas in these games for whatever reason. They should be. They should be taking Zeke and Pollard out in the second quarter of some of these games, but they're not. They're
Zeke's
just
out there in like a 48
they're stepping on their throats
getting
to the last minute. Yeah, I agree. So
what is it, Wednesday? I just can't even fathom having to go to sleep.
Does that matter?
I'm just thinking about like having to sleep 4 nights in a row knowing I laid 16.5 points in this game.
What are you talking about? It's the Houston Tech. What is going on here? Anyone have any prop looks in this game?
No.
I want to play Tony Pollard something. It's so hard to play anything against the Texans because you don't know where they're going to get beat or how long they're going to get in. I might look at a Tony Pollard longest rush, though. He's had some pretty breakaway plays, 46, 57, 28, 54, 30 throughout the year. So I could see him breaking off a big one and then going to sit on the sidelines for the rest of the game when they're up 40 because the Texans offense.
While the Texans make their comeback and backdoor cover the game.
Score 24 points in the second half. Just like
Davis Mills throws 2 red zone interceptions and then the game's over.
Dude, they lost by 12 to the Eagles. That's all I'm saying. Like, stuff happens. Like, they can have one drive, and they're like right there.
One drive.
Yeah, like they get an early.
The Cowboys score 35. The Texans will have one drive, and they'll just cover the spread.
I'm just saying, like it takes like 10 points, and they can cover the spread.
Stop. No, I think the Cowboys are going to put up 35 points. It's not going to take 10 points to cover this.
You guys are just like,
it's going to take 17 at least.
No, okay, last prop in this game. Get it back on track.
This isn't Madden, dude. Like,
Zeke Elliott anytime touchdown. This was minus 110 last week against.
It's not going to be. It's going to be like minus 160.
Yeah.
Okay, Zeke Elliott for an touchdown. 5 straight games with a touchdown. 7 TDs over that span. Boom. Moving on. Enough out of Mr. Texan over there. All right, let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos. Broncos are up to 9.5 point home dogs. The over-under here is 43.5. This was our look-ahead du jour play last week where we grabbed the Chiefs at 7 and 7.5. So great closing line value there. If you got it, still feel really good about that one. Kadarius Toney, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Mecole Hardman questionable for the Chiefs. And then for the Broncos, Cortland Sutton out, KJ Hamler out, and they now have a league-high 16 players on IR as if things weren't going swell enough in Broncos country. Anyone have a play here? I'm assuming we all have the Chiefs in. Would you still bet it now under 10? Because I still think this spread is a little bit short, even at 9.5. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it should be like 16.5 probably.
Shut up.
No, I honestly, yeah, I'd probably play this under 10. It's simple. Like as good as the Broncos defense is, the Chiefs are still going to get theirs, and they could realistically.
It's like the Eagles Giants. Like the Chiefs offense and the Eagles offense are going to score. Can the other team put up enough points to cover? No, they can't.
Yeah, they could score 24 points and probably cover the spread with how bad the Broncos have looked, and. Yeah, it's not getting any. There was a point in time where we were waiting for it to get better for the Broncos. It's not getting better. This is who they are. So they have no business being in a game with the Chiefs.
Is it time to throw out our Super Bowl tickets? Is that not alive anymore?
They should already be gone. I don't know what you're doing holding on to them.
You told me it would get better.
Russell Wilson MVP tickets.
I still have that. Yeah.
PointsBet refunded mine. Nice of them.
Loser. Dave, thoughts?
I didn't lay it with the Chiefs, but I probably will.
What are you doing?
They're not going to. I did. No, I didn't.
What are you doing?
I don't know what I was doing, but I didn't play it at the 9.5. I don't like taking the Chiefs as a big favorite. I don't know why. They're not great
the
at
Cowboys,
covering big
no
spreads
problem.
for some reason. They win all these games convincingly, but for some reason they just don't cover these huge spreads. So I put them in a money line parlay with the Raiders. I'm fine with how that is. I also took the under on the game. Broncos games are 11-1 in the last 12 to the under. They've scored under 17 points in 10 games, and half of those they only put up 10 or fewer. So if I took the under 43.5, yeah.
You wouldn't rather just look at a Broncos team total under 14.5? What if the Chiefs score 40?
Yeah, I could take that too.
Okay.
I'd be interested in that.
It's another way to play it.
Yeah, I mean, Dave's scared to back the Chiefs at like 8.5, but he's all for laying 16.5 with the Cowboys against an offense
it's
that's just as bad.
different
Totally
game. Why do you keep bringing
Why
it
is
up?
it different?
The
Why
Texans have the
Broncos-
worst defense in the league,
The
and
Broncos have a
is
good defense, a very good defense, a divisional game. They're at home. It's totally different than
Couldn't be a more different
Texans
game.
Cowboys game. Get out of here.
So stuck on that.
I am.
Dave won't take 3 with the Bucs, but I'll take 16.5 with the Cowboys.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all.
I hope they win
saying,
by
though.
45.
I mean, they might, but I'm just saying, like, have some freaking
And you'll
pride.
feel like an idiot if they
What does that
do.
even mean? Have some pride. I'm
It
betting
means
that.
exactly what it means.
You're
Dude,
advocating for the
God,
Houston Texans
please
and
take
telling
the
us to have
Texans.
pride.
I didn't
Please
take the
the
Texans. All I'm
Texans.
saying is I'm not laying
Please.
16.5 points. Like, is this like?
I'll book you personally at 17.5 plus 100 for the Texans if you want it.
If you know what, I think if it hits 17.5, I'll take it.
I just hit it. I literally just
Oh,
told you.
It
In the
actually
Plus
Jeff
hit.
Morales
100. I am
Sportsbook.
offering you a bet.
Plus 100.
Yeah, I'm not going to add juice to my.
Oh, are you offering it to me? I thought you
Literally
meant, like,
me. I will bet you. I will
Oh.
take the Cowboys
No, I don't
17.5.
want to do that.
Are you kidding me? Get out of here.
What is happening? You're such a fraud.
I'm not
You
a
just
fraud.
Said, it hit 17.5 and you're going to bet it.
I'd prefer to donate to the sports books as opposed to you if the Texans lose.
I'm giving you a better price. I can't with this guy. Absolute fraud. All right, prop looks in this one. If Melvin Gordon's active, we could see a revenge game narrative here. Maybe Andy Reid brings him in garbage time to get an anytime touchdown. If he's active, could be a big touchdown price. It might be worth a bet.
Pass.
No.
What? Pass? Really?
Pass.
What's the worst that happens?
Dave, you'll pass on a
doesn't
Melvin
score.
Gordon touchdown, but you'll bet the Cowboys.
All right, moving on. Carolina Panthers.
Whoa.
What?
I have a
Wait, I have a
this
prop
game.
too.
All right, but you said you're talking about the Texans still. Get
My
on your
prop
Let's go.
look, because Cortland Sutton is probably out of this game, looking at Greg Dulcich.
That was mine. 8
targets, 6 receptions, 85 yards last game. He led the team in all those categories, so I'll look at Dulcich.
Yep, right there with you.
All right, moving on now. Carolina Panthers against the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are down to 4-point home favorites. Over under here is 43.5. Panthers coming off the bye. Seahawks off a close win over the Rams. Safety Xavier Woods questionable for the Panthers. Deontay Foreman popped up on the injury report today, but said he is going to play. And then the Seahawks running back room, very problematic right now. Kenneth Walker, DJ Dallas, Travis Homer, all on the injury report. Not really sure who's going to play. If none of them can go, I don't really know what to do. Guess they have to sign someone off the street or the practice squad. I know we talked about this game on the look-aheads last week. I grabbed the Panthers there, grabbed them at the open too. At 4, I probably wouldn't play it anymore. Maybe a slight lean to the Panthers, but I feel like the spread's probably gotten to a range where I think it's more fair now. And it will be Sam Darnold for the Panthers. Forgot to mention that. Anybody have a strong play on this one at the current numbers?
I also took the Panthers at the look at +6. I would still play them at 3.5, 4. I would still play it. I think this is another one. I really think the Panthers are live to win this game. The Seahawks defense has just been atrocious this past month. I think we jumped off I am jumping off the Seahawks bandwagon probably a week or two too late. We had some great wins with them middle of the season, and then their defense just kind of cradled in a teaser or a look ahead line, but the closing line, I don't know if they're as valuable as they were previously. So I still think the Panthers are live to win this game. Sam Darnold looked good in his first game back against a good Broncos defense. I think he's got another week or two in him before he inevitably crashes and burns. I also took the over 43.5.
Rue?
Dave, you said the Panthers are live to win this game. I am saying the Panthers do win this game. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
the Panthers
Wow.
here.
Let's
Anything
go.
over,
Jeez.
anything over a field goal here, I absolutely love the Panthers from a spread perspective. I will have some plays on their money line as well. Well, like you said, we just started to see these vulnerabilities kind of pop up with the Seattle defense that we weren't seeing earlier in the year, but kind of what we expected to see coming into the season. They haven't been able to stop the run over the last 3 weeks. They allowed Rashad White to rush for over 100 yards for the Bucs, and Carolina, who we've seen, will lean on Deontay Foreman, who sounds like he's going to play. We've seen plenty of matchups where he's kind of taken over the game. And Seattle, like, they haven't been able to get Kenneth Walker going, who's probably not going to play in this game. I think DJ Dallas is also hurt, which is a huge part of their offense. Carolina is also second best in pressure rate allowed on offense against a Seattle defense that's slightly below average in getting pressure, which could mean we have a clean pocket for Sam Darnold, who, he now has a game under his belt back in the offense he was in last year, extra week to prepare with the starters here. Carolina defense, it's been somewhat hit or miss. Like, it seems like they're either getting lit up or looking like a pretty good defense. They've only allowed 38 points in the last 3 weeks. I know, it hasn't been against the best offenses, but I think they can do enough here, especially if we get a Seattle offense that's a bit one-dimensional with no Kenneth Walker here. So I love the matchup for the Panthers in this game, and I think they pull this one out.
All right. A lot of bullishness on the Carolina Panthers here. I like it. Prop looks for you guys in this one. I think there's a couple good ones.
Yeah, I'll definitely be looking at Deontay Foreman if he's a full go. I think he said he's 95% positive he's going to play. So
that's specific.
Yeah, that's what he said. His words, not mine. So yeah, I'll be looking at him for a pretty big game.
Dave?
Yep, on Foreman as well. I was thinking about DJ Moore. I don't think I trust it enough yet. I need to see another week with him and Darnold. And then on the Seahawks side, because they have no one to run the ball with, you have to look at Lockett and DK Metcalf overs. I mean,
and Gino.
Yeah, Gino too. Maybe that's the safer play, is just to take Gino. I don't know. Both these guys have been crushing their totals every week, and I think Tyler Lockett's scored in 5 straight games as well. But in their running game, I think the Seahawks just signed. I don't know if you mentioned this. They signed Wayne Gallman, so that's what they're looking at from a running back standpoint.
He would be
most likely, because Dallas and Homer are both banged up. I don't know what that's going to look like. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton.
Yeah, I love Gino. Over pass yards, over pass attempts, 28 of 39 last week for 367, 3-1, 27 of 37 for 328, 2-1 against the Raiders, 275 versus the Bucs. So rather than mess around with Lockett and Metcalf, I just take Gino. And then I will go to DJ Moore. You show me a little bit of life, you throw the ball to DJ Moore, give me a chance to bet his over. I'm in on that any day of the week. 4 for 103 last game with Darnold.
I don't trust it yet.
All right. Let's move on. Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the San Francisco 49ers. Niners and Brock Purdy laying 3.5 points at home. The over-under is 37.5. Jimmy G out for at least the regular season. Nick Bosa popped up on the injury report today with a hamstring injury, so he's questionable. And then for the Bucs, Tristan Wirfs out. Antoine Winfield and Sean Murphy Bunting in the secondary, both questionable. I have a very strong take on this game. What do you guys have? I know you guys were kind of going back and forth. Have either of you made a bet on this one, Bucs versus Niners?
I have no bet on this game yet. I think this is a wait and see on this Niners team for me. It's all going to be about Kyle Shanahan. What's he going to be able to do in this offense? Is it truly a plug and play where you can put any quarterback in there, Brock Purdy included, because there's so much talent in the offensive skill positions in Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey? You saw what they did to the Dolphins last week. And just having that elite defense, it's a situation where you shouldn't have to ask any quarterback to do that much to win these games and cover by a margin. I'm not betting on I didn't bet them in the Monday night game, but I'm not betting on the Bucs probably for the rest of the season. The final score of that game does not dictate how horribly they were on offense for the first 55 minutes of the game. I've had enough of watching Byron Leftwich's offensive game plan of 4-yard running back dump offs or failed Tom Brady deep ball attempts. So I just took the under. I took it at the open 39.5, and then I took it again at 37.5. I think it's still good. Anything 37 or above.
Rue, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the Niners, but I don't want to lay 3.5 points with such a low total. And just in this matchup alone with some unknown with Brock Purdy. But like, to me, it's just not as simple as Brady catching 3.5 points versus Brock Purdy. Like, for one, you have cross country travel on a short week, which obviously not great for the Bucs. And to me, like, this kind of is that system where you can plug and play a quarterback like this and still be successful. Like, you don't need a great quarterback to just take a snap and dump it off to CMC or Debo and just let them do their thing here. And look, I know Purdy was a 7th round pick, but it's not like he has a ton of experience in college, so he knows how to throw a football. I mean, he started 4 years at a Power 5 school through 81 touchdown passes. So he's not a complete stiff back there. Like, I'd feel better.
That's why he was the 27th pick quarterback in this draft.
I feel better about having him back there than Trey Lance, who had like 200 career pass attempts at North Dakota State. I mean, honestly. And then, like, the Bucs, this offense has been struggling against everybody. They had 3 points midway through the fourth quarter against the Saints, and now they're going against the best defense in football. And if it weren't for the drop passes last week, the Saints probably would have scored like 28 points and blown out the Bucs last week. And I can't fault you if you want to take the 3.5 here, catching over a field goal with this quarterback mismatch, but I think the 49ers win this game. Just like what Dave said, like, there's just nothing on this Tampa Bay offense. It's just these 3 5-yard out routes, can't get on the same page as Mike Evans. They still can't run the ball. Like, they maybe had a little more success over the last few weeks, but now you're going against probably the best run defense you've seen the entire season. So it's just going to be the one-dimensional Brady throw 40+ passes for 80 total air yards and just boring Bucs offense. So I think the Niners win, but I don't like laying 3.5.
All right, give me the Bucs here. Love this play. Anything over 3, I think, is absolutely crazy, and I feel really good about it. The look-ahead line on this game with Jimmy G at quarterback was the Niners -6. Now we're going to drop down to 3.5 with Brock Purdy making his first ever career start. I know we looked okay last week, but that doesn't seem like enough of an adjustment to me. Both of these defenses are top 5 in the league. We have a total of 37.5, who, like Dave, I also bet the under on. So you're giving me over a field goal in a game where we're expecting it to be played in the teens, probably. Like, I just think that's crazy. I know the Bucs offense hasn't looked great, but I feel like a lot of this narrative coming around the Niners team is, oh, you can plug any quarterback into this Kyle Shanahan system and it'll have them succeed. Over the last 3 seasons, when Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't played, 15 games. We have 3 starts by Trey Lance, 9 by Nick Mullins, and I believe 3 by CJ Beathard. The San Francisco 49ers in those games are 4-11 overall. So all this crap about, oh, you can plug any quarterback in and they'll win the game, they'll be fine, they'll be able to generate points. Absolutely not true. Has not been proven on the field at all. Trey Lance played against the Cardinals last year, and they scored 10 points in that game. He played later against the Texans. They scored a little bit more, but this is not just an automatic, oh, any quarterback can come in and score 30 points. So I think Brock Purdy is going to get exposed here. This Bucs defense shows up. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be ugly. I'm playing the Bucs money line, and I'm definitely taking over 3 points, as bad as they've looked on offense.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We'll find out. Find out how sorry you are. Anyone have any prop looks in this one?
No.
I'm going to look at Chris Godwin over receptions. If he's 6.5, again, 8 for 63 and 12 for 110 over the last 2 weeks. For some reason, Mike Evans and Tom Brady are just on 2 completely different pages. I don't really know what they're doing right now, but this Bucs offense is basically just drop Tom Brady back 3 steps, throw it to Chris Godwin immediately. And I think they're going to have to do that in this game, especially to try and neutralize this Niners pass rush. It's going to be a lot of 5-yard out routes to Chris Godwin. So I think his reception plays a good look. All right, let's go to Sunday Night Football. 2 games left on the slate here. Miami Dolphins against the LA Chargers. Chargers are, holy crap, this one got bet really hard. The Chargers up to 3.5-point underdogs. When the heck did this happen? This was 2.5, 3 all week. Apparently, Dolphins money is coming hard here. Over-unders at 51.5. Austin Jackson out on the Dolphins offensive line. Teron Armstead questionable. Jalen Waddle was banged up last week, said he's going to be good to go. And then for the Chargers, Mike Williams, Trey Pipkins, Corey Linsley, and Bryce Callahan, all questionable. So they're very banged up here. I love the Dolphins in this game under 3. Now that it's over 3 at 3.5, I feel like I have to kind of change my whole analysis here. What do you guys have? Any thoughts on the new current spread of Chargers plus 3.5?
Yeah, I saw the 3.5 earlier, and I thought when the 3.5 popped up, I would be like, oh, it's got to be a Chargers play. But I'd still, I would still look for the 3s and play the Dolphins. The Chargers are ranked 26 in overall DVOA. Like, we're talking right there with Denver, Carolina, Chicago, Jacksonville. This is just a bad team. And Justin Herbert has not looked good. I heard a stat the other day that in his career, Herbert's 12-30-2 against the spread in the second half. So like that just goes to show this guy can't close out games consistently. And I think last week with Miami is something we just kind of file away until later on in the season or in the playoffs when they play against a great defense. But we've seen this offense light up.
Not this week.
Bad defenses the entire season. And you have a Chargers defense that's ranked 23rd in DVOA, 16th against the pass. So I think this plays right into Miami's favor here. You also have Miami staying on the West Coast here, which is always a favorable spot. So it's just a strong lean to Miami here. I did parlay their money line with the Bills here. I'm hoping a 2.5 pops back up, but I am fine taking the flat 3.
Dave, thoughts?
Yeah, I took Dolphins at 2.5, 3.5. That's where I start to look the other way. I think I would need a little bit of a higher number to go anywhere with the Chargers on this one. I mean, this is the spot you like to take the Chargers as the favorite, as the underdog over a field goal, but just their offense has just been getting gashed all over the place. We know how bad their run defense has been over the past maybe 3 years, and the Dolphins haven't done a good job of establishing the run. Maybe this is a game that they can start to do that, take a little bit of pressure off Tua's hands after what he just did last week. But you've seen what like Devontae Adams, one of these elite receivers, can do to a Chargers secondary. I mean, how does Tyreek Hill not have his usual 10 for 150 and 0 touchdowns? But how do they not just continue that sort of offensive firepower that the Chargers aren't going to be able to match? Is Mike Williams back in this game?
I doubt it.
He's
questionable.
Back.
You never know with them.
Forever questionable.
Yeah, I am. When I first logged on to this tonight, the under was 52.5, and I thought about taking it, and I think I still like it. So if that's still available, I'm going to grab it. These are just two super aggressive teams, a little bit of a contrarian play, just more about two super aggressive teams and head coaches where one turnover in the red zone, failed fourth down conversion can sway the whole over under. So if I can get 52.5 or gets back to a 53, I think that's where it opened. I'm going to take the under.
What if they go for it at their own 10-yard line and don't make it? That'd be bad for the under.
I feel like Brandon Staley's like Brandon Staley like has all these times where he goes for it and you scratch your head, but then it's like they'll have like 4th and 2 on the 30-yard line.
And he can't wait to punt.
And he kicks a field goal or punts or so. Like it's just like no consistency. It's like he flips a coin every 4th down as whether he's going to go for it or not.
Yeah. Prop looks for you guys in this one.
I think there's a possibility, like Dave said, that the 49 or the Dolphins can just run the ball here. So it's one of those matchups where I'm a little nervous about blindly playing the Waddle and Tyreek plays here.
I like Tyreek.
Okay.
I'll probably take Tyreek. I'd like to target the Dolphins run game. I just don't know who to target. So it's you can't play Mostert or Wilson. They've been basically rotating pretty consistently on that. So I'll probably still play Tyreek at least. I don't know about Waddle. He was in and out of last week. He says he's healthy. Never really know with these receivers. We've seen him leave a couple games this season. I'd rather just play Tyreek.
Yep, with you. All right, let's move on to our final game here on the slate. The New England Patriots against the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are 1.5-point home dogs. The over-under is 44. Patriots off the mini bye after a loss to the Bills. Cardinals off an actual bye week. Probably the first game this season where we see the Cardinals offense full go with Hopkins, Hollywood, James Conner, Kyler, and Rondale Moore. Moore's the only one on the injury report there. He's questionable. And then for the Patriots, Damian Harris, Isaiah Wynn, Jalen Mills, and Jacoby Myers all questionable. This is probably the only game on the board where I have absolutely zero thoughts, takes, opinions, anything logical and helpful to say here. I am not it. So I have no thought on this game, no idea. Someone say something intelligent.
Dave,
I have
please.
one note on this game, and it says the Cardinals are finally basically healthy, and that was all my.
That's what I said too. Yeah,
yeah. My lean is on the Cardinals. Maybe I'll tease them up to 7.5. I really don't have a strong take on it either. I got nothing. Yeah,
it's tough because it's a Monday night game. You want to have a bet on that? Like even for props, I don't know where to go. Like just the whole Patriots team right now is just a real conundrum.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm speechless on this one. I would I thought about teasing the Cardinals, but then
good analysis, guys.
But then
I did the same thing. Every time I think about it, I'm like, it's the Cardinals. They could lose by 10 here easily. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I like if gun to my head, I would take the Cardinals. And maybe come Monday night, I'll feel like I have a gun to my head because I'll want to play on the game. So that's where I'll be going.
Yeah, I got nothing. I don't even have any props in this one. I couldn't even come up with anything. If
Nope.
Rondale Moore doesn't play, I'll like Hollywood Brown receptions because he'll be in the slot role. But if Moore does play, it just bumps
I don't
him
know
outside.
though, because like like last time we saw Hollywood eat into DeAndre Hopkins targets. Is it going to be the other way around this time? Like that's what I
think if he's in the slot, he will continue to get targets.
And
if
I
he's
don't want
bumped
to hear
outside, he will not.
And I'm tired, and I don't want to hear about a Belichick taking away your top option at this point anymore. It's not a thing anymore. So, yeah.
My only potential
Diggs
prop.
didn't do anything last week. I can't that still be a thing?
I mean, Justin Jefferson lit them up, and I don't know. I just feel like it's.
There's only so much you can do. Jefferson's amazing. Like they did everything they could to take him away. And he was just better. Hopkins is not even close to Justin Jefferson.
I'm not saying he's a wide receiver too, right, Jeff?
The slowest guy on the field. Stop it.
Okay,
Dave, what were you gonna say?
My only prop look will be Hunter Henry overs. I mean,
Hunter Henry.
It's a tight end against the Cardinals. It doesn't matter. Insert any name.
I
you
forgot.
Just have to look at
this
it.
Is
Come
my
on,
thing.
Jeff. I know. So he's had a few 50-yard games this year. He's had a few single-digit games. So it's a.
This is really stretching. This will be the ultimate test.
Yeah. And the last time we played this was Gerald Everett against the Cardinals, and that didn't work out. He was banged up though. So he had some volume still, but he was banged up. It didn't work out. I don't know. I feel like I just got to play it out for the rest of the season. The Cardinals they're not going to improve their defense randomly against the tight end position. So.
All right, fair enough. I like that. I can get in on Hunter Henry. All right, that'll wrap up our game-by-game breakdown. We will now go to our long shots of the week. This is our favorite bet priced at odds of plus 200 or better. Dave, you're the guest on the show, so you're going last here because you suck. Rue, I'll give you the honors.
A little speculative. Not really. Like I said, he said he's 95% sure he's going to play. So I'm going to go with Deontay Foreman here.
Really? You like him that much?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a Deontay Foreman touchdown and a Panthers outright win here.
Wow. Okay. That'll play really good.
Yeah. So
I mean, the Panthers money line alone is what, plus 180?
Yeah,
plus 200?
No, it wasn't plus 200. I think it was like around that plus 180. So,
okay. Has he scored a lot recently?
He will against Seattle.
Go ahead, Dave. You can go next.
I was debating a Panthers money line in this too. I went a different route with it. I'm going to go with there's no line for it right now, a Ravens money line and a Tyler Huntley rush yards. I'm hoping he's going to be live in the 40s or 50s. Last week he went on the ground 10 for 41. So he's getting the volume. Last year when he started 4 games, 12 for 72, 6 for 54, 13 for 75, and 7 for 40. So the volume's there. He's going to get 8 to 10 carries. I think he'll be able to hit his line probably in the 40s or 50s. If not, I'll just play a 50 yards. And then I still think this game is a coin flip. It's going to be a grinded out defensive battle. The Ravens are live to win this game. So the Ravens are plus 125 is the best on the money line. So we'll see what you get on the parlay. But this is also an homage to my last appearance on the show where I took a Lamar Jackson rush yards and a Ravens money line against the Bills, which was just an absolute heartbreak.
I remember
loss.
that. Yeah.
So here's a little bit of a hopeful redemption with Tyler Huntley in there.
I got to be honest. I hated it when you said it, but you backed it up with some pretty good stats. At least you provided some good analysis instead of Rue, who's like, yeah, I bet Deontay Foreman scored touchdown.
Yeah, he's gonna score. What analysis do you need?
Maybe has he scored before? What's his red zone?
I think he scored once or twice in the past.
Just I think he scored once in his career.
Go back to the start. What's my record in long shots and what's your record in long shots?
You're 4-8 and I'm like 3-8. Calm down there, buddy.
That's what I thought.
All right. Last week, AJ Brown. Oh, it's a revenge game. That's my analysis. All right, I'm gonna go with a. Yes, it worked. Hard to argue. I'm going to go with a Thursday Night Football play here. I know you guys are a little bit skeptical, but I am all in on Devontae Adams, betting to be Offensive Player of the Year this week. That starts on Thursday night, over 87.5 receiving yards, a touchdown, and the Raiders money line. This paid plus 325 on Caesars. Like I said, Adams' recent game logs are absurd, over 125 yards and a touchdown in 4 of the last 5. And we just saw DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett absolutely cook this Rams secondary. He's going to toast Jalen Ramsey at least once in this game. All right, favorite bets. What?
No, go ahead.
You good?
Yeah.
Favorite bets of the week. This is our favorite bet of the week, in case you were wondering. Dave, what do you have?
I'm going with an over in the Panthers Seahawks.
Oh, you
over
stole mine!
43.5.
Yes.
All right. A little bit correlated with my love for the Panthers this week. And we've
Because
seen
you know Deontay Foreman's going to get in the end zone.
Absolutely.
So many times.
We've
Get
seen what
outta
the
here.
Seahawks can do offensively. Outside of the London game, where I think they put up 17 against the Bucs, they've scored 37, 27, 31, 34, and 27. So we know what they can do offensively. I'm not that concerned about the lack of running back depth on this team. Ken Walker really hasn't been efficiently running the ball. He scored a couple touchdowns, but he has not been efficient the past couple games running the ball. It's really all about Geno, DK, and Lockett. So I have no doubt that they'll be able to put up 24 plus points. I think the Panthers can keep this game competitive, live to win it. So I'm going to take that over 43.5.
Nothing like counting on slinging Sammy Darnold to get you to an over.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
And dirty Deontay Foreman.
Deontay Foreman. The guy is barely even going to make it on the field with an ankle injury. It's going to be 18 carries for Chuba Hubbard, and you guys are just drooling over
And
Deontay
one touchdown
Foreman.
for Deontay Foreman. Since becoming the starter, here you go. Since becoming
Finally,
the
we
starter,
get some real analysis on this
in
show.
6 weeks, Deontay Foreman has 4 rushing touchdowns, 3 of which came in one game.
Okay, so he scored twice in the last
2 games, 2 for 6.
This is why Rue doesn't even bother with the stats on some of these. Just give out the targets on one guy without the yards.
Yeah, and you focus on 2 weeks out of
7
the entire
targets.
season of a
Yeah, I
tight
said
end.
because he just started getting on. He wasn't playing early in the
Yeah,
season.
just leave out the week where he had 1 catch 3 weeks ago.
Because he wasn't on the field. That's what I said. That was the whole part of the analysis.
But you got his 40-yard dash time from the combine. Don't worry about that.
That's important. All right, Rue. I'm in with Dave here. I'm taking Panthers Seahawks over 43.5. What do you have here? Hopefully something different.
I am going with, and my God, am I going to wake up Friday morning sick if this doesn't hit? I am taking the Las Vegas Raiders minus
yes.
6. I just think when you get a spread that you feel pretty confident that should be over 7, and I'm getting it at a flat 6 or 6.5 for that matter, I think you roll with it. So I'm going with the Raiders here. I just think the pass rush is going to have a huge impact like we saw last week, whether it's Perkins, whether it's Wolford in there. And I think, like we've been saying, they figured something out on offense. So big games for Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. So let me back the hot team here in a number I think is too short. So give me the Raiders at minus 6.
Best of luck to you.
Absolutely love it.
I'll
What
need
could
it.
go wrong? All right, let's do look ahead lines for week 15, and then we will sign off and bid everyone adieu. Anybody have anything that jumped off the board at them?
Dave, get
Okay, I'll start. Come on.
I took the Giants +4. Pretty simple. Those 2 teams just tied, and neither of them
Against
should
who?
be. +4 at the Commanders. Those 2 teams just tied last week, and I don't know how any of them could be favored by more than 1 or 2 points. I mean, the Commanders' home field advantage is non-existent. So Giants +4 I think is a great one.
The
The only
down...
reason I sorry. What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say?
The same thing you are, probably.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm a little bit nervous is because the Giants play this week and the footballs are on a bye. So all the risk is on your side. If someone were to get hurt on the Giants, the footballs are going to come in more healthy. So that's the only reason I don't love it. But assuming there's no major injuries, I find it hard to believe this isn't a good bet at anything over 3.
I mean, the injury risk is only Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. There's not a lot of.
I mean, there's still other guys that matter. If they lose a couple defensive line, like it might not impact the spread, but it's still going to hurt their team. Darius Slayton, like he's not a great player, but like they need him in the passing game, you know.
I don't care about Giants receivers. They just cycle in and out. They get hurt, and then people talk about them nonstop. I could care less about the Giants receiving core. But point taken.
All right, Rue, you got anything?
The only one I feel like I might have to hop on now is the Bengals at under a field goal versus the Bucs.
Yes.
But outside of that, nothing I love. It does look like it's going to set up to be a pretty decent teaser week.
There's 2 more I love.
But that's the only one that I felt like I wanted to grab under a field goal now.
All right, so the two that I love, in addition to those two, the Detroit Lions, you can get a +3 on Caesars at the New York Jets. I think that spread has to reopen under 3, especially if we think about what we're going to think about these two teams next week. Lions are a favorite against the Vikings. Jets are projected to get destroyed by the Buffalo Bills. The chance that we think more highly of the Lions at this point next week, very high. So I think that at 3 is crazy. And then the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's just keep adding to our position there. -1.5. At home versus the Patriots. The Raiders will be coming off the mini bye, playing at home. Patriots off a Monday Night Football game on the road on a short week. Darren Waller coming off IR this week. They get another weapon in the passing game. The Las Vegas Raiders are primed for freaking takeoff. Get ready. That's going to reopen -3 next week.
What a whirlwind it's been with the Raiders.
I just can't wait to see how it ends. It has to end in agony at some point.
Of course. It's the only way it can end.
This isn't a look ahead that I feel the need to take now, but I have to point it out. I cannot wait to bet Baker Mayfield against the Packers next week. I think it's Monday Night Football at +10. I'm gonna love everything about that.
What is Baker gonna do with Tutu Atwell and Ben Skowronek as his top 2 wide receivers and no offensive line?
I have no idea, but it's Baker Mayfield, and he's going to come in there whenever these stupid quarterback changes come in. A guy who gets benched, and then he comes back in. He has this little chip on his shoulder. He plays well for one game, and then similar to Mike White, he's going to fade into irrelevance again. But
did he play well for one game on the Carolina Panthers? Like any game this season? Wasn't that supposed to be this year? Like,
do the Packers deserve to be 10-point favorites against anyone right now? The Packers just had their season. They beat the Bears. That's all Aaron Rodgers cared about. He doesn't care. He's going to mail it in. Baker's got something to play for, a little bit of pride left. Aaron Rodgers doesn't care. I can't wait to bet that game.
I don't know. We're talking about a guy that couldn't win a quarterback job over PJ Walker and Sam Darnold. So I don't think he's going to.
We love Sam Darnold now, so you can't talk crap on
that. How dare you bash Sam Darnold?
I'm just saying he's going from having like DJ Moore as his top target to having a slew of outcast wide receivers and Cam Akers, and Cam Akers just makes everyone around him worse to begin with. So.
He's not going to have Deontay Foreman to hand the ball to him.
Exactly. It's a walking touchdown.
Walking touchdown. The guy's like 6 career touchdowns in 28 games.
Jeff, I'm pretty sure you were on. Wait, time out for a second.
I love Deontay Foreman.
Anyone who heard this, go back to our off-season podcast when Jeff is praising Deontay Foreman, apparently giving the Panthers a higher floor as a backup running back.
Yeah, because he's the best backup running back in the league, the Christian McCaffrey. It was an awesome signing, and it's paying dividends because he scores touchdowns if he matters.
He can propel the Panthers to 6-11.
That would cash their over-season win total, I believe. Was it 5.5 or 6?
I think it was 6.5.
Well, that floor is much higher. They would have won 2 games without him. I don't really want me to tell you. All right. Anyone have anything left to say here? I think we've gone long enough.
Yeah. No.
All right, Dave, thanks as always for joining us. We love having you on. You provide some excellent analysis, and we always have fun back and forth. That is a wrap from us. Make sure to have a great week 13 out there. Follow us on Twitter at BetRightPod. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Smash the like button on YouTube. The link to the YouTube video will be in the description of this podcast. From Jeff and Rue and Dave, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast, because every time you bet with us, you bet right.